Hello, 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 and welcome to the Babe Bulletin podcast, where we talk self-love, empowerment, boudoir, and anything else that makes us feel like a total babe. My name is Alicia. I'm a boudoir photographer and a body liberation expert, and I am so happy that you're here and you want to hang out for a little bit. Today's episode is as much for all of you as it is for me. I have been an entrepreneur, a self-starter, a self-business owner, small business owner for pretty much my entire adult life. And yet, imposter syndrome seems to be the one thing that just doesn't really want to go away. I could rattle off accomplishments or things that I'm proud of, and I would still have this voice in my head that's like, yeah, but are you really that good? I mean, do you really deserve that? You just got lucky. You just got this. You got that. You don't get to tell anybody anything because you don't know shit. And it's frustrating. It's so frustrating when this voice shows up because it's like, hey, I have been doing years worth of confidence building activities. I have been working on myself. I am trying to become a better person. When does this voice go away? When will I finally be rid of it for good? And after doing some research, I think the answer is possibly never for some folks, but we can certainly diminish it. We can certainly make it show up less. And confidence building is really the thing that's going to do that. So you're tuning into the right podcast because, confidence building is kind of my jam. It's what I love to do with clients, and it's what I love to do with people who are interested in learning more and, want to become a fuller, better version of themselves. I don't think anybody is really harmed by becoming a little more confident in themselves. That's what's so great about it. So if you're anything like me, you're like, yeah, imposter syndrome. I know how that goes. I get what you're talking about, and I feel it too. In fact, a lot of us do. According to Forbes, 75% of female executives, right? The people that you look at and you think, wow, you made it. You did it. 75% of them have experienced imposter syndrome in their career. Some of them still do. They feel inadequate. They're filled with self-doubt, and they wonder if they're qualified enough for that job. No, that's 75% who have experienced it at some point in their career. So again, I don't want you to feel like imposter syndrome is something that you have to live with forever. There are ways that we can shut that voice down and build up our self-esteem instead, and we're going to get into it. But I found that fact from Forbes to be fascinating. So if you're sitting there and you're listening to this and you're thinking, I'm the only one who feels inadequate. Nope, not at all. Not at all. The majority of us have experienced or will experience this feeling at some point in our life. So imposter syndrome is that thing that makes us feel like we are not good enough. We do not deserve what we have. We aren't successful. We don't know what we're talking about. And it's really a lot of criticism. But did you know there are actually 5 different types of imposter syndrome? Turns out, Dr. Valerie Young does know that. When it comes to imposter syndrome, she is the go-to. She is the expert on imposter syndrome, so much so that she's the co-founder of the Imposter Syndrome Institute. And she says that imposter syndrome can be broken down into 5 different types. So let me know if one of these resonates with you, because as I was reading through them, I was like, ooh, don't look at me. I relate too hard to some of these. The first being the perfectionist. This type of imposter syndrome involves believing that unless you are absolutely perfect, then you could have done better. You feel like an imposter because your perfectionistic traits make you believe that you are not as good as other people think that you are. This is the one that I read and went, oh, okay, you see me. You know who you're calling out right now. I relate very hard to number 1. And there's one other that I relate to as well, and we'll get to it. But number 2 is the expert. Now, the expert, they're going to feel like an imposter when they don't know everything that there is to know about a particular subject or topic, because or they just haven't mastered every single step in a process, which I think probably a lot of folks who are getting into new hobbies or trying to start a career somewhere new, I can imagine feeling this. And because there is more to learn, then they don't feel like they have reached the level of expert, even though you probably are. You are probably eventually an expert in whatever topic or whatever field you do go into. You don't feel that way right away, and then you continue to not feel that way because you're always learning something new, and if you don't know everything, then you must not know anything. I mean, that's just not true, but we'll get to why. So maybe that one relates to you. Maybe you're thinking, oh, yep, I'm the expert. Or rather, I have the expert imposter syndrome because I don't feel like an expert at all. Number 3, the natural genius. In this imposter syndrome type, you may feel like a fraud simply because you do not believe that you are naturally intelligent or competent. If you don't get something right the first time around, or it takes you longer to master a skill, you feel like an imposter. I feel like my husband may relate to that one. So I love that these kind of probably click for different people. Often when he's saying negative things about himself, he's not giving himself credit for the things that he learned just because maybe it took him a little bit longer than someone else. Is that really that big of a deal? No, of course not. That's not what our inner critic wants us to believe. So I get where people are coming from with the natural genius as well. Then there is the soloist. It's also possible to feel like an imposter if you had to ask for help to reach a certain level or status. Since you could not get there on your own, you question your competence or your abilities. And then last but not least, number 5, the super person. This type of imposter syndrome involves believing that you must be the hardest worker or you have to reach the highest levels of achievement possible. And if you don't, then you're a fraud. And that is the other one that I very much relate to. Well, thank you, Dr. Valerie Young, for calling me out. Because those are, for me, it's number 1 and it's number 5, where I'm like, yeah, that I very much relate to. That is what my inner critic is saying to me. That everything has to be perfect. And that if I do not reach the levels that some of these other people are reaching, like, so for me, it's boudoir photography. If I am not at the level that other boudoir photographers are at, then I must just suck. I must just be really bad at my job, and I'm a fraud, and I should quit and go and do something else. That's what my inner critic likes to tell me. That's what my imposter syndrome likes to tell me. Now, we know what it is. We know what the types are. How the heck do you know if you have it or not? Well, let me ask you a couple of questions, and maybe that will narrow it down for you. Do you ever agonize over even the smallest mistakes or flaws in your work? Do you attribute your success to luck or outside factors, like almost exclusively? And you're not giving yourself the credit that maybe you deserve. Are you sensitive to constructive criticism? Do you feel like you will inevitably be found out as a phony? And do you downplay your own expertise even in areas where you are genuinely more skilled than others? If you answered yes to one of those, you probably do have imposter syndrome. If you answered yes to more than one of those, I mean, I'm not a therapist. I can't diagnose you. But I'm going to go ahead and say you have imposter syndrome. And I certainly tick off several of those as well. Yep, that's what I feel like. And it's not healthy to stay in that state. It's hard to grow. It's hard to become a more competent and confident person if we're just bogged down in the criticism that our inner imposter is telling us, is constantly reiterating. How are we supposed to grow? How are we supposed to get better? How are we supposed to deal with all of this? Now what? well, I've never left you hanging before, and I'm certainly not going to do that now. I've got some tips and some tricks that could help us out. They'll help you out. They'll help me out, and we can grow and learn together. Woohoo. So I came across in my research for this something called the 8 C's. I have never heard this term before. I guess it's used in IFS therapy. Don't ask me what IFS therapy is. I did not get that far in my Googling. But I found the 8 C's. And if we pay attention to what they are, and we compare them and contrast them to what our imposter syndrome is saying, it's going to be easy to recognize when that voice is showing up and when maybe we need to practice questioning it or even shutting it down. So the 8 C's are like what you have to be your true self. We are looking for compassion, creativity, curiosity, confidence, courage, calm, connectedness, and clarity. If the voice that you are hearing saying, "You are not good enough. Who do you think you are?" When that voice shows up, does it fit into any of those 8 C words? No, it doesn't. It's not encouraging you to be creative. It's not telling you to get curious. It certainly is not calm. It's not helpful in any way, and it's not who you actually are when you are in your most true and authentic self. So that's how I want you to try to recognize it. If you are not going to remember the 8 C's, that's okay. 8 is a lot to remember. You can always do something that I like to do, which is just questioning that voice when it shows up. Is this voice lying to me? And what are the facts? And really, that's kind of step 1 in figuring out what we're going to do when imposter syndrome shows up. You have to identify the negative self-talk, and then we have to look at the facts. So that's why questioning and saying, is this voice telling me the truth, is really, really important. So something that I sometimes do is fall into a pattern of generalizing. And I say things like, well, I've never, or everybody else has. And that's not true. It isn't. I just get stuck in that type of thought pattern sometimes. And then it's really, really hard to see a positive or bright future because I am just like trapped in my own spiral of absolutes. So we're going to look for a more realistic outlook instead. And we are going to fact check those thoughts. And then we're going to take action. Okay? So the things that your imposter syndrome is telling you, are they actually true? And if perhaps there are little maybe nuggets of truth in there somewhere, cool, we've identified them. Now we can do something. We can come up with a plan. We can take action. We can find solutions. Great. The other thing that I want you to do is remind yourself of your achievements. So we got to celebrate ourselves when those achievements come. When those achievements are really big, great. And when they're small, awesome. Keep them in your head. And then when doubt kicks in, boom, you've got your go-to list of achievements where you can be like, no, this voice is totally lying to me. Look at what I've accomplished. You really want, you want a plan? Where are my type A girlies out there, okay? We're going to identify every day at least one little win. This is going to help a lot with staying positive, staying productive, and building up that confidence. Because nobody else out there in the world is going to remind you that you're doing a good job. Maybe you have an amazing boss or, a partner who compliments you, things like that. But it's really nobody's responsibility to keep track of your accomplishments and let you know that you're doing a good job. I mean, there's a lot going on. I can't keep track of all of my friends' accomplishments, but when they do accomplish something, I want to hear about it, and I want them to say it out loud. I want them to celebrate it too. I want them to say, I did this cool thing. I'm really proud of myself. And then I can be like, oh, heck yeah, that's awesome. I'm really proud of you too. So celebrate your accomplishments yourself. Don't wait for anybody else to do it. You need to keep track of that. You can use sticky notes. You could put a reminder on your phone. You can use your little notes app. All of that is really important to keep those wins fresh and in the front of your mind. There's also, apps you can download, little things like that. Just, it's really, really important to remember that you may not always get external validation for the things that you accomplish. So you better validate yourself. Okay? I want you to celebrate you. That's very important to me here in my studio. I talk about celebrating yourself and your body all of the time. You start doing it here in my studio, you can do it out there in the real world. You're listening to this podcast, and I am telling you that you can do it. All right? And then, of course, the last thing that you can do is get help. And I know that one of the imposter syndrome voices is really kind of a jerk if you feel like you need to seek help. But like we talked about in step number 1, when we fact check, we know it's okay to get help. We know it's okay to find someone else who's doing the thing we want to do well and get support from them. That's all good. Your inner critic is totally lying to you if you feel like you can't do that. So look for a mentor. Look for some sort of sponsor. You can get help from someone that you view as similar to yourself, and they probably will understand how you feel, and then they can help you become more confident on your current path. So, if you're a small business owner like me, there are coaches who can help you out. There are mastermind groups, and there are, there's so many people out there who can just help you feel better about your business, help you feel better about being an entrepreneur. And I know for a fact that whatever niche you're talking about, there's going to be someone out there who's like, oh, I dealt with the same thing. This is what I did to help myself get through it. And I can help you do the same thing. Motherhood, becoming a parent, that's different than motherhood. Starting your own business, doing like a new hobby or crafting or whatever it may be. I bet you a 30-second search on Facebook will bring you to groups with people in it who would be more than happy to help you out. A 30-second Google search will probably bring you to a coach or a resource or a book that can help you out. So don't feel like you have to do this on your own. If imposter syndrome is something that you are really struggling with, do not feel like you have to fight it off all by yourself. Yeah, it's like an inside job kind of thing, but you can get external help. I mean, you're listening to this podcast episode right now. This is included in that. So I know that it's challenging, but don't sabotage yourself by taking what your inner imposter is telling you as cold, hard truth. We're going to look for help. We're going to identify what's really going on. We're going to question that voice. We're going to remember our achievements. And we're going to shut that shit down. We're not going to let that imposter run our life anymore. Okay? I certainly want to do this more so. I got to be a little more vigilant myself. So as much as this has been an episode for you, it has been an episode for me as well. It is tricky sometimes out there, and comparison is the thief of joy, and I have let comparison steal some of my joy lately because I compare myself and my work and my studio to other people, and I think it's not good enough. And then I spiral, and then I have a terrible day, and then I'm not a very good wife. I'm not a good business owner. I'm not a good friend. And it doesn't need to be this way. You and me, we're going to figure it out. We're going to do these things. We're going to shut that voice down. We're going to remember our achievements, and we're going to get help, and it's all going to be so much better. We're just going to get so much better, right? Right. The reason that I wanted to bring up imposter syndrome as today's topic is because this podcast was actually one of the things that I felt like maybe I don't have the chops to do this. Maybe I shouldn't. What do I know? What do I know? I'm just a little photographer. What do I know? And it took some self-confidence to go, you know what? I know a lot. I am going to come on this podcast and say I'm a boudoir photographer and a body liberation expert because I am. I know more than most people. And I wanted to share what I knew with all of you. Because I had to learn all of this from other people. A lot of this is trial and error. A lot of this is book reading and article reading and sitting in classes and trying new stuff. And then the stuff not working. And then me trying something else new. And So instead of you having to go through all of that, I was like, let me take what I know, what's rolling around in this noggin, and put it in a podcast and share it all with you. I've always been a blogger, but not everybody wants to read blogs. And I felt like a podcast made this kind of education just a little more accessible because you could listen to it when you were doing the dishes. You could listen to it on your drive home. It's just a little bit easier to soak up all of that good empowerment info compared to reading like 10 blog posts on my website. That was my feeling. Well, we're 50 episodes in now. This is episode number 50. I have been doing this for over a year, and I think it is time to pivot a little bit. The podcast is not going away. The Babe Bulletin is not over. But after talking to my producer, who is also my husband, after talking to Dustin, we both agreed that this like 1 a week episode structure that we currently have, schedule that we currently have, maybe isn't the ideal for what we want this podcast to really do. I have shared a lot of what I know in these podcast episodes, and I'm excited to learn more so that I can share even more with you. But I want to do that in seasons, almost like a television show. I know several podcasts, honestly, not several, a lot of podcasts are set up this way where they record for a few months, then they put out a season, and then they take a break, and then they record for a few months, and then they put out a season, just like a television show. You have to do all of the recording, all of the editing, all the planning, all the structure. You make 10 episodes that you're really, really proud of, and then you put those out into the world. And I think that's what we're going to do. I would love to have more guests on, which means I want to have more flexibility with my schedule so that if, I can have 2 guests in 1 week record and it's okay because their episodes will come out in a few months. I might have a few weeks where I can't get anybody to record because schedules just aren't lining up. And that would be okay because the episodes will come out months later. So I think doing this as a season rather than a weekly thing is going to give me more flexibility. It's going to give my guests more flexibility. It's going to mean we can take the time to create something even better. The editing can be even better. Like we can just really, really take our time on these episodes because it's just me here. Like it's just me and my one-man show. And then thankfully I have a producer who can take all of this and cull it down and make something that you all actually want to listen to. But I want to give us even more time to do it even better because I have so much other stuff going on in my studio. I have clients that I need to photograph, things I need to edit, projects that have to get done, campaigns I need to send out into the world, not to mention like a million other things. And I just want this podcast to be as good as it can be without sacrificing the quality of the other work that I want to do. Currently the podcast is not getting in the way of any editing or photo shoots or anything like that. And I just want to make sure that doesn't happen. So we're going to go seasonally. So this is going to be the last episode that you hear for a while. This is going to be the end of season 1. And no, season 2 will not have 50 episodes in it. I can't do that to myself. But season 2 will be coming. Me and my producer are going to figure out what that looks like. And I will let you all know when season 2 then is ready to come out. But in the meantime, you can always go back to episode 1. You know what? Maybe you shouldn't go back to episode 1. I bet you it doesn't sound nearly as good as this one does. But you know what? Those episodes are there. They're not going anywhere. Feel free to scroll through, find some that resonate with you, give them a listen or a re-listen. And season 2, when it comes out, is going to be even bigger and better and more badass. And I'm not going to let my inner imposter syndrome tell me that this is a bad idea, because it's not. This is what I have to do to make sure everything in my business is as running as efficiently as possible, and I can still put out stuff that I'm proud of. So that's what we're doing. So stay tuned for season 2. If you want to support my studio and the work that I'm doing in the meantime, while we wait for season 2 to come out, you can find me at www.bucksandboudoir.com. I'm also Bucks and Boudoir on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and YouTube and Pinterest and pretty much everywhere. So check out what I'm doing and send me a DM. I would love to chat. Okay. And last but not least, the final Babe of the Week that we are going to have for a while until the new season comes out of this podcast. Given that Halloween is right around the corner, and I came across a news article from CBS Morning, this person has got to be the Babe of the Week. His name, Christoph Wagner. He is 62. He lives in Austin, Texas, and he is the fairy godfather of Halloween. This man is incredible. He warmed my heart reading about him. I am so happy that he is getting the recognition he very, very much deserves, because listen to what this incredible man does. Several times a week, you will find him at the thrift stores looking for items that are shiny or furry or sparkly. Anything that he thinks could eventually become a Halloween costume, he will take. And then he brings all of that stuff home. He washes it, he glues it, he sews it all together, and he takes stuff that maybe otherwise we wouldn't even notice, and he turns it into one-of-a-kind costumes. And then, when fall rolls around, he hosts free events where kids and their parents can come and pick out their dream Halloween costume. And there's no cost to the parents. There's no stigma. It's just fun. It's just joyful. He said that I want everybody, all the kids, their parents, whatever, to feel like they're getting the same thing that somebody went out and bought. And he does this all with his own money. He buys all of this stuff himself. He has a storage unit where he keeps all of his costumes, and he pays like over $5,000 for that a year. And that's again, just out of his own pocket. These events, like I said, they're free, where you can come and do the shopping for your Halloween costume. And it just makes me so happy. I mean, Halloween is my absolute favorite holiday. And to give that kind of joy and normalness to a kid who might not get it otherwise this time of year, how does your heart not explode into a million pieces hearing that? Wagner said that the goal is to make people better than they were before the event. If there's somebody there to help you, then you're more likely to turn around and help somebody else. And through his kindness and his imagination, I mean, he is the definition of, the spirit of the season. It's not the candy, it's not the decoration, it's all of the joy that's around this holiday. So, Christoph Wagner, you are my Babe of the Week. Thank you so much for listening. I cannot wait for you all to come back when season 2 is finally out. Hopefully next year. The goal in my brain is next summer. We will see if my producer agrees with that. But for now, and in the meantime, remember, your body is a good body. I want you to be kind to it. I want you to be a little bit nicer to yourself. I want you to shut down that imposter syndrome and treat yourself with the same love and kindness and support that you so freely give other people. Bye.